a lot of discussion recently, and hopefully we will continue the discussion here, and we will learn about what is Levana. Jonathan, you are from Jerusalem. Sorry for asking. Right? Is it correct?
Yeah, yeah. I'm from Jerusalem.
Oh, I have visited Jerusalem before. Like,
Oh,
and I
wonderful.
was,
I hope you had a good time in the city.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. My wife really enjoyed this. But I'm surprised you in Jerusalem, because most of the blockchain ecosystem is actually in Tel Aviv. So I was
Yes,
like,
so
oh,
it's about a
in
45
Jerusalem.
minute drive. Yeah, it's about a 45-minute drive, and I do commute. But there's Jerusalem is a very special city to most of the people in the world. So
Mhm.
it's just been an honor to be able to live here.
It's very hard to explain to people what Jerusalem is, because I did not have much expectation, and when I went there, it was a very strange place, I must say. It was very strange. Like, I could not imagine these different cultures and religions combined into one. Like, it was unlike any other place, and
Well, Ed, I
I
mean, raising kids here has been the best. I mean,
Mhm.
I took I remember taking my daughter to the park and, watching her play with like a little Palestinian child, an Ethiopian, Sudanese, Indonesian, and you have all of these different cultures that kind of like
Mhm.
migrate here to the city, and for the most part, everybody really lives together and gets along with each other.
Yeah. So, like, something I was expecting this very being very Jewish city, right? But I arrived there, and my like hotel receptionist and her friend are Christian. I go out, and there is like Jewish people walking around, right? But then I go to the store, and there is the Arabic man in the store, and next door is the Russian store, right? And it's
Yep.
the
Yep. I
so
think it's about 80% of the population is Jewish or associates
Mhm.
to Jewish ancestry. But in terms of the commerce, it's I think it's much broader than that. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. So the people at the hotel or at the supermarket, come from all different walks of life.
Mhm. Mhm. Are you guys based in Israel overall? Is Levana based in Israel?
No, so I've been working as a software designer for about 20
Mhm.
years now. So my background is I was very early on into mobile apps, and started a software development team, here that serviced projects all over the world. Um, so then from there, we actually built a project that for the Kardashians that was purchased by Snapchat.
Nice.
We built a video streaming company that had about 26 million subscribers to it. So, and so my background is really designing consumer products, and most of the projects that I've worked on have been focused abroad. And so when I entered into the crypto space in 2016, so I just slowly built. I guess a reputation as a product designer, and then for a few years as an investor in the space, just kind of working with founders. And so from that, I was introduced actually to by the Delphi, the Delphi research team, which is based in London. I don't know if they're domiciled in London, but at least some of the people that I worked with were in London, and so that's kind of how I got involved in Levana in the first place.
Mhm. You said to join in 2016. If you don't mind me asking, via what chain was it? Was there any specific chain or any area of the
Yeah,
interest?
Bitcoin. I mean, I never understood Litecoin. I understood the narrative for Bitcoin at the time, um, and I'm still very bullish on Bitcoin. I also, I think my, I think yeah, I went through the ICO bubble, kind of with a lot of skepticism, and then I really focused on economic architecture of um, of what's now called governance tokens. And so I wrote a paper for our investors in 2018 on sustainable token economic design for profitable decentralized finance ecosystems. And then that ended up turning into an Ethereal presentation at Ethereal in 2019, and then a Masari presentation in 2020. And then that ended up getting me involved in like a token economic design for about a dozen different projects. And kind of that, was what kicked off my, my, I'd say, like the bug. Once you've been bit, you kind of can't go back. I just can't imagine working in another industry at this point.
This is really interesting what you are saying, because I'm trying to figure like the tokenomics model, and I'm trying to figure out the bullish case for Bitcoin. And I hope you don't mind me going into this subject, which is
Sure.
unrelated to our Cosmos ecosystem.
No
But
worries.
I'm not that bullish on Bitcoin because it doesn't have properties of money, not because it necessarily, maybe also because it travels very slow, but also because it's so different than the current economic model that is like dependent on increasing money supply, right? The banks can issue the loans, you can invest this money, and you can build the value for your community, something that I don't think it's possible with Bitcoin at all. So now we shift to the rhetoric of the store of value, but still, like, do we want to go back to the era of commodities, right, where you had this aristocrat class that had access to a lot of store of value in form of commodities, but you keep liquidating the bottom class of society that actually is forced to use those sort of assets, right? So I like how we could shift to Bitcoin standard if there would be, and if not Bitcoin standard, because you say you design in the tokenomics model for for economy that could serve us, how these tokens could serve us, right?
Okay, well, I think you asked a couple of questions, and we could probably do a whole hour long podcast, which maybe would be best for a second
Hmm.
recording, which I'd be happy to do.
Let's do
But
it.
I'll
Yeah.
answer it in short. Is we've only been subject to fiat currency since the 1970s. Before that, it as a concept didn't exist. It didn't make sense that a government could just essentially
Hmm.
steal from the next generation by printing money, which represents debt, which then wouldn't need to, well, where every politician that is printing this debt is going to be retired by the time that the debt
Hmm.
is subject to be called. I think that the current economic system, from a global economic perspective, is essentially immoral, and is bound for failure. And the bullish
Hmm.
case for Bitcoin is that Bitcoin doesn't need to really be a money to be successful. I don't. It's we could argue about what is a storage of value and what that looks like on different scales. Whether it's your grandmother saving money every month so that she can buy you a birthday present coming from her social security checks, or whether it's a young family that's trying to put money away every month so that they can make their first home purchase. I mean, the storage of value means different things at different points of your life and under different circumstances, and how much you're directly contributing to an economy's GDP, at that time period. But kind of generalizing it, the bullish case for Bitcoin is that every single example that we have of fiat monetary policy results in destroying one's own economy, and then reintroducing a new resetting, having a great reset. So, I mean, Israel went through it a few times. In her 70 some years of life cycle, there was the lira. And then around the forming of the state, then there was the shekel, and then there was the new shekel, and the new shekel is the currency that we currently have. And you can see that traveling around. Like, I remember the last when I went to Turkey, maybe it was about 15 years ago or so. They were still in a process where they had to list all prices in old Turkish lira and new Turkish lira, because they weren't even good at, the merchants or the government wasn't even good at revamping the currency, because everything was so analog. So they just had to kind of like whittle out the old lira as they were introducing the new lira. So something could cost, 10,000 old lira, or it could cost 50 new lira. And you'd have to sit there and kind of weed through as to which paper money you were actually working with. So I think the bull case is very simple. World governments will, okay, let's put it like this. Bitcoin, as the fact that nobody can mint more Bitcoin, and nobody can prevent anybody from owning Bitcoin or transferring Bitcoin. Those are the properties which are not true with gold, because you can't, if you escaped, and I have a lot of friends from Ukraine that my family background is Ukrainian, as many people in Israel are, and so many people tried to flee the country with wire transfers, which were all frozen, with dollars in briefcases, which were all stolen by border guards, or with actual gold that was discovered through metal detectors. So really, you can't move gold or silver or traditional dollars from one place to another freely. It's always going to be subject to the government approving of that transfer. So the value drivers of Bitcoin are that anybody can participate and nobody can make more of it. And as long as those two things hold true, which I believe that they will hold true and stand through the test of time. Again, don't want to get too into the weeds on this. But as long as those hold true, then governments will continue to print an infinite amount of fiat currency, which can then over time only be used to purchase a finite amount of Bitcoin. So whenever
Mhm.
you have an infinite amount of assets, which can only be used to purchase a finite amount of assets, so then the rules of supply and demand just naturally, and the free market just naturally create this storage of value attribute, which we've seen, over the last, at least I've seen since
Mhm.
2016 of participating. I actually did a little bit of mining with some college students in 2011, but that was purely just I had no idea what I was doing at the time, and
Mhm.
was just kind of playing around with it, and thought Bitcoin was just money for Silk Road, but and the like. But putting that to the side, really the first time that I read the white paper was in 2016, and I think that as long as the value and benefits of Bitcoin uphold, and the underlying principles, um, and governments keep doing what governments do best, which is pay off debt through inflating supply, then I think Bitcoin will have a bright future.
Mhm. Well, like we have to do another episode, because I would still be, because the fact that you cannot have more of this, to me, is like, hey, that's not ideal, because that incentivizes on the holding and not using, which increases centralization over time. In fact, it opened the doors for the bank to create if they would like to get control of the Bitcoin or centralize the holding of the Bitcoin a little bit, the banks are able to create the money, and at like which doesn't cost them anything, especially when it comes to central bank, because it doesn't cost them anything to do it. They can simply purchase Bitcoin, right? Also driving price up. But this is those issues with Bitcoin I have. Hey, this actually rewards those wealthy ones, rewards those early ones, and doesn't reward really the working class of people. They can participate, they can use it,
It's a great conversation, and yeah, happy to schedule
but
a more philosophical or economic call, and we can look at Keynes, and and his views of global economic policy. We can look at you know uh, you know uh, Martin wrote a bunch of about this, and I don't think that we need to start from scratch. I think we can look at a lot of
Mhm,
the philosophers, economic philosophers, and kind of map what we've seen even throughout our lifetime, and how inflation has been used as a form of control. And
mhm.
the really the dangers of central bank digital currency, what we've seen in China today, and but those probably, we're 15 minutes into it now, and that's probably not why the Stargaze community is
Yeah,
listening today.
Yeah, so I keep your word. We are going to do again. We are going to have philosophical talk on the money. What is money and what's the role of crypto? But here is Levana. Do you want to jump to the Stargate subject, or would you like to chat what is Levana as
Sure.
default intro?
So I'd say Levana is an acronym. It stands for leverage any asset. It's there's Levana has built a few different DeFi products. Currently on Cosmos, we have an American style options protocol, which is on testnet, and a well funded perpetual model similar to GMX, which is also on testnet. We have a community of about 30,000 people. We were originally a Terra project. Um, I was part of the team that was tasked with um, transitioning UST, the algorithmic stablecoin, from being purely algorithmic to being collateralized. And unfortunately, that project died about 7 weeks in with the attack in May. But it was very interesting, to just be able to sit in the room with so many smart people and discuss things like global economic policy and game theory and attack vectors, and unfortunately things didn't turn out how we had hoped that they would, but it was an amazing learning experience regardless. And what Levana did is Levana was actually one of the first projects to mint NFTs on mainnet on Terra. um, it's I believe that we were actually the third team to actually perform the minting. So this is before the standardization of CW 720. This is before any of the stores, the marketplaces on Terra existed, and so we really were a pioneer because it's a lecture that we gave about a year ago, which we won an award in Dubai's Global Blockchain Summit, which was NFTs and DeFi, and you can see a recording of it on YouTube, which is where we theorized that the best way to build an engaged governance community would be through functional NFTs, and and so we performed a minting, which was the largest, most successful mint on Terra. In November of last year, we had about 6,500 participants, minting over 50,000 NFTs. It was the largest collection, the most active trading, and then the largest, the most successful, pretty much, I think, from every metric as you cut it. And then what we did after that is we released 8 blockchain-based games. So a lot of them were homage to like early 90s side-scroller video games. We had some Discord games. We pioneered some of the NFT Terra Discord integration. With different tiers and different locked and unlocked sections, community governance through Discord that required NFTs in order to participate. And so there was a large focus on technical innovation within the NFT space. And after Terra blew up, we were really looking for a partner within the greater Cosmos ecosystem, because we really believe in Cosmos's scaling. My background, I spent 2 years as head of business development at Starkware, which produce the most, really today, the most effective or most successful um, method of scaling Ethereum, which is through a technology called zero knowledge proofs. And they were actually the technology. There were two, while I was head of business development, there were 2 contracts that we closed that were very significant, which was the DYDX integration and the immutable integration. And immutable is the third largest NFT minter and trader within all of crypto. So I got very familiar with NFTs, and I got to actually do a lot of technical sales and work with very large companies, and to understand kind of what were their friction points of NFT integration. So that's kind of the background of Levana. Um,
Mhm.
And so I'm happy to kind of I see that there's been a lot of controversy, and I think it's pretty simple. Levana's goal, from migrating from Terra, from minting these, from creating this beta tester community of Rec Dragon holders. The entire concept of Rec Dragon, really started in June, where we said, okay, we want to promote NFTs um, on Cosmos. There
Hmm.
really isn't, the maturity of the NFT ecosystem on Cosmos is not really up to the same quality that we found on Polygon or on mainnet Ethereum, and even what was achieved in a very few amount of months, 3 to 6 months on Terra. There's a lot of friction points that exist there, and there's a lot of research and innovation that needs to happen in order to create that step function of improvement within the Cosmos ecosystem, both from a technical perspective and from a usability perspective. And Levana's goal is really to help grow NFTs on the entire Cosmos ecosystem, and to partner with a quality project like Stargaze to help make that happen. And so, about
Hmm.
3 months ago, we met the Stargaze team. We started brainstorming about the Rec Dragon project and what it would mean to be able to migrate from outside of Cosmos into Cosmos, and then what would be all the friction points and how we could work to minimize those friction points, and what would be the beta test that would be required to really ensure that Stargaze could create something that could actually appeal to a massive audience. And that's where we're up to today.
Hmm. I have to agree with you, and you make it easy because you explain everything without me even asking. I want to establish something. You are fully right, that the Cosmos NFTs are nowhere near Polygon and or especially Ethereum. The scales of innovation that happened within NFT space is barely existing on Cosmos. I personally was even concerned about Stargaze because it being such a small ecosystem, it has to grow, it has to capture new users, and it has to bring new users from Ethereum and bring the same curiosity to the ecosystem, right? So I fully agree with that. I want to ask you, because you said you minted 50,000 NFTs on Terra. Is it this like this beautiful 3D dragons that you have on your website, or what are these NFTs that you
So
did
we
on Terra
actually
before?
Yeah, we actually created a game. It was a game, if you're familiar with like Tamagotchi. So that was
Hmm.
the initial vision. So it was um, it was where you you bid on uh, a meteor from a meteor shower. We created this science fiction fantasy world,
Hmm.
and it was where there was it's about 500 years in the future. The last of humanity is living on Mars. They're controlled by this totalitarian government, and there are these meteors that fall from the sky, and that kind of like sparks this revolution, because found within the meteors are dragon eggs, and that was really the whole thing, is a metaphor
Hmm.
um, for what's happening in crypto. So we ended up growing the community really just from this from this NFT based story. And then that's how we got so many people to be really interested in NFTs and in DeFi, and even into Terra. We had a lot of people
Hmm.
that their first transaction that they created was to actually get the Levana
Hmm.
NFTs. And so we actually it's the we created the meteors. Then the meteors you could crack open, which then you would get either dust or eggs, and then the dust could be combined with the eggs to impact different attributes of it, and to start the nesting process.
Hmm.
And I have an aviary with about a dozen birds in it, so I've gone through the process of raising little baby dragons, and it's a really enjoyable experience, and it also helps you emotionally connect with the thing that you're growing to actually
Hmm.
participate. And that's kind of the success of Tamagotchis. So we created this, and we created these mini games. And unfortunately, we got totally wrecked with Terra. We lost like $7 million when Terra collapsed. which we've spoken about at length in many other
Wait,
AMAs.
wait. Let me stop you here. Did you hold it your reserves in UST,
Some of our reserves were in UST,
but
and
not
then
all?
yeah, but
Or
not all of it. So that's how we're
okay.
still, we still have survived with the funds that were actually, we had funds in Bitcoin, we had funds in Ethereum, we
Hmm.
had funds in USDC. But unfortunately, the, like our, all of the commissions and everything, it was, I mean, we got wrecked. And that's where the meme of the wreck dragons came from, because the dragons
Hmm.
got wrecked in the crash.
Yeah. Um. Well, I'm glad you didn't lost all of your money. So, considering the game, you need a new layer one platform, right? Are you migrating this to Juno or and Terra? Like you are
We
still going?
we have so we did release today three different games
Hmm.
on Juno. And we've had about, I think it's about 8,000 people from Juno, like 8,000 fresh players from Juno
Hmm.
came and participated in these games. But really, in terms of the bear market, we have a long-term vision. Like,
Hmm.
personally, I see Levana as a 7 to 10 year project. And I
Hmm.
think that's also something that separates us from many of the other, um, the ecosystem. Now, it technically, Terra was built on Cosmos, but it was really segregated from the Cosmos community. It
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah.
it,
It
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 used
was.
its own wallet. It had its own onboarding. Um, the majority, and I would say over 99% of the people that participated in Terra had never used Kepler, had never used
Hmm.
IBC, and had no exposure to anything in Cosmos outside of Terra itself. So, and I think that's one of the beautiful things of Cosmos, is that you can build something that stands on its own 2 feet,
Hmm.
from the Cosmos SDK, or you
Hmm.
can participate in the entire Cosmos ecosystem, and you really have that optionality. And I'm
Hmm.
super excited, to see how everything has grown in terms of the Cosmos ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah, I need to agree here with you because I heard many voices. Hey, there was Terra users that were already in Cosmos. I had the friends in Terra, and they were not into Cosmos at all. They were like, "We are Terra, we use
Yep.
Terra Station," and they were like, "No, Kepler is no good. Only Terra Station is good." They were not using Kepler. They were telling me
Even if
that
you
using
had a
IBC is too complicated
yep,
for them.
yep, yeah,
They were
yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's no good, it's no good, I prefer to use Terra Station." That's truth about Luna community that I fully agree. So this arguments, hey, they're already here. No, they are not here. They were using Terra Station, and actually, like, now they come into use Kepler. So
But I
it's.
think that there's a flaw to the whole concept of the proposal. That
Mhm,
it seems like that there's a misunderstanding to the proposal. I mean, let's just talk what the proposal is. The proposal is, for the last 3 months, Levana has been brainstorming with the Stargaze team as to how do we um, make a step function improvement in terms of the UI UX of NFTs within the Cosmos ecosystem. And there's a few different major pain points right now. One is even just about awareness, being able to
mhm,
grab the interest or attention of someone who's not currently in Cosmos, and then getting them set up with their first Kepler wallet, getting it funded, teaching them how to use Osmosis, teaching them how to use Stargaze, teaching them how to make their first purchase. A lot of that needs a lot of tender love and care, and that's really what the focus of this first beta test is. So what
mhm,
we've done is, we created a project called Wreck Dragons. We got about a little over 1,000 of the Levana community members to set to mint on Ethereum a Wreck Dragon with the commitment where with the commitment and interest in participating in a process which will take multiple steps to get these Wreck Dragons to become IBC compatible. Now, a lot of the technology, even going back 3 months ago, didn't exist. Like the ICS 721 standard didn't
mhm,
exist, and And I mean, it's still not formalized, and the the bridging between wallets and the onboarding of Kepler, and integration with hardware wallets. A lot of this stuff is like really fresh. So we have a long-term vision here, and this first test is okay. How do we get a few hundred people to hopefully 1,000 people um, to go through the process and then give us feedback. Now, we looked
Hmm.
at the previous airdrop. The previous airdrop, which was a few months ago that Stargaze did, was a $2,000 airdrop to the entire, like $2,000 each. Now, I looked at that, and that's just like, I think it's egregious. I think it's very hard as a product designer and as a data scientist um, to to learn anything from dropping $2,000 on an individual. I mean, it's like guaranteed to just be like a cash grab. So
Hmm.
we talked to the Stargaze team, and we said like, look, um, we've got to look at, well, what is it that makes people interested enough so that they're going to bother paying attention to learn about it, um, and and then at the same time, give them the optionality that if they wanted to just dump, they could do that, but it's enough of an airdrop that they're going to feel like they've got money in their pocket that's worth burning, and they'll burn it on some NFTs, and they'll play
Stargaze
around with the shit.
NFTs, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly,
I
exactly.
sorry for
So two
stopping you,
thousand
but
bucks is yeah. Go ahead.
no, like because like with that, like I'm totally not really against that. I'm like, hey, it's not a bad idea because you guys, I understand the community because you know what community feels in past few months. Maybe they bought some Stargaze and they feel, hey, someone is getting stars. But these people who bought some Stargaze, they might also hold some NFTs. So I would like to tell to them, look, these funds might be used on the NFTs that you hold. So you might get bigger
And
community. You know what I tried to say,
no,
right?
for
Like
sure.
that's
Look, if everybody has to work at their own interests, and like for full
yeah.
transparency, um, the work that all of the conversations, all the work and everything, even just like getting the multi sig set up, like
Hmm.
this is like days of work because we're literally the first team outside of the core Stargaze um, team that is working on this, and so
Hmm.
Levana's asked for nothing for this. Like
Yeah.
there's no we've blacklisted the treasury um rec dragons because that doesn't make any sense to airdrop ourselves for this. We've limited it to 1,000 to like 1,200 people, which is a very small beta test. We've made sure to limit the amounts to not do a ridiculous airdrop like $2,000 and to have it be like a very
Hmm.
small airdrop of $100, which is we think is probably the minimum in order to be able to get people interested and then have them actually
Hmm.
use it to buy NFTs. Um, and I'll go through some of this like in a more systematic method because I think that kind of walking people through all of the considerations, and then we own in terms of like marketing, we own like I think less than 30 rec dragons that we have as like wallets that would be that we can showcase to VIPs to walk through the process and to usabilities testing on it. So I mean there's been such thought and I guess respect from my perspective and selflessness from the Levana community and the Levana core team on this project that we've tried to just make it where it was it you know it's where and I think this is how it was received by the core Stargaze team, that it was that this is really just like an act of kindness from Levana
Hmm.
to Stargaze to show that we're interested in this working and collecting data together. Um,
Hmm.
so I don't know. It's the upside seems pretty obvious. The downside seems very well regulated. The risks that were put in place. I've seen that most of the drama and negativity I think has come from um, other NFT projects that got wrecked, um, and kind of are like I don't know if and maybe it's just sour grapes or maybe I don't know, but it seems to me that the drama, like I was surprised to see how many vetoes with no's with veto came out. So it is it is, but a lot of people, each person has their own right, and what I love about governance is that these kind of conversations happen, and we're happy to answer any questions, from anybody. I've got a call, I think, later today with like the somebody from the Wrecked Wolf team. I know that we've heard a lot of feedback from them. They've been on a number of our AMAs, and they all seem to kind of have the same narrative, and talking points. But yeah, we love that community, and are excited to see how the innovation that comes from this beta test and this project can be used to benefit many communities.
I'm trying to connect with the Wrecked Wolves as well, but like you said good about the other projects, and I want to say to the other projects in case they listen, like you can also benefit here, build your own thing, and come bring the proposal, can come to my channel, we can discuss, and you bring additional value, and we can grow, right? Like this is not one-off thing that only Levana gets, but the possibilities are endless. Like you just need to know how to approach. And I see you going to share the draft with the questions that we could
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
So
So
let's go step by step with
so the
like
artwork is
mhm,
yeah, the artwork is designed to kind of be tongue in cheek. We took the
mhm.
uh I don't know if it switches.
Who made it? Because there is the question. There is the question in the comments. Who made it?
One of the designers, one of the artists
Hmm.
from the Levana team made this, and so this was the original Wreck Dragon. So you can see here is kind of like this is like the Luna chart, this big up and then dump, um,
Hmm.
and then LVN is the future token that Levana will have, and so now that we're all wrecked, we're working at a fast food joint. So this was kind of like the tongue in cheek approach, and then this was made to to for thousands of variations of this, which now are held by around 1,200 people.
Hmm.
I think that it's important to kind of look at what's the total of their proposal. I mean, obviously, the worst case is that all this is BS. It's just a money grab, and there's a total rug pull here. Um, they're in, yeah, just going from there. Sorry, we got neighbors stopping
It's no
by.
worries. It's
Um,
easy talk. We can be
yeah.
distracted.
And so it could be a total rug pull. We get
Hmm.
no good data. There's no follow through from Levana, zero engagement from the Levana team, and $100,000 of stars tokens gets market dumped. So to put that in perspective, that's like about 20 hours of dumping. Like
Hmm.
every 20 hours, there's about $100,000 of stars that's dumped on Osmosis decks. You can go look at the volume there. And in terms of like the ask from from like the community funds, this is less than 0.5% is roughly the equivalent. So less than 1%, it's less than 0.5% really. When you dive down into it. So this is the total risk. Like imagine that I am just like a completely malicious person. The Levana team is a completely malicious person, and all of this is just an elaborate rug pull for whatever reason. Um, so this is the total risk from the proposal. And now you can decide whether or not that risk is how real it is, or how aggressive you should prevent against that. But I think it's important for us to like talk about the total downside, and that's why
Hmm.
I started this presentation with it.
So
Any
some of
thoughts
my
or comments
points,
here?
it would be if people want to comment, like rack pull is very difficult to do with this amount, and even if it would happen, I think Stargaze would be fine. I don't think it's worth business for you ranking Stargaze for 100K, because for whole of your team is not that much of the money to be, but it's going to community, right? So it's going to the holder. So but this is valid risks, and I understand why people are concerned that people get money, they don't buy NFTs, they go to Osmosis, sell it $100 in the pocket, happy, right? Like we made money on our Reg Dragon. So that's the risks, right? That we have here.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think
so it would
we're,
be
we're
it would be
mhm,
yeah, the trading volume of almost a day's worth of current selling. So like
mhm.
it's so we're So that's the downside. I think the upside is that Levana works with Stargaze to refine an onboarding experience. We iterate together on what is the user experience, and just the so much about blockchain isn't about the feature list, but it's about how the end user experiences that feature. Whether it's like a one, what can make one marketplace successful, and one a failure, even though the one that failed had 10 times as many features, is about how you introduce it to someone, and what those first 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 200 seconds are of interacting with it. And that's, I think, what we've done to date more successfully than any other project on Terra, was really nail onboarding. We had 10,000 monthly active players on our games, and like the next in line in terms of gaming was like 400 monthly active users.
Hmm.
Like it was just an order of magnitude different because of the obsession of how do we create something that people are going to actually want to use. And I think that that's one of the major pain points that Stargaze, and all of Cosmos has today, is that there really hasn't been those tough conversations. And I don't think that we're going to be able to solve everything all at once, but I think that I think that opening those conversations, and creating that relationship, and creating that 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 shared goal of building out the best NFT marketplace, is a worthy cause, and it's a worthy beta test what we're proposing.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then we've got
I
custom
want to
integration.
sorry to stop you, because
Yeah.
someone saying, Marlon, why wrecked gang just spread into each chain? Like, you are not wrecked gang, right? It's different
No,
project. Someone
no,
mentioned.
the wrecked gang has actually been one of the most uh, vocal, opponents to this.
Yeah,
We've
so
seen.
this is wrong question, I
Yeah,
guess. But
yeah.
in case they mean you, maybe they mixed up something. Are you going to other chains, or is just the Stargaze chain trying to do what you
Well,
do?
we currently right now have NFTs that are minted on Juno,
Hmm.
and we learned
Yeah.
a lot from that experience.
Hmm.
And if you go back, and we minted this set of Wreck Dragons on Ethereum. So that was about 3 months ago. And
Hmm.
just to kind of jump, and then we will be minting our next set, which is these crypto winter
Hmm.
pals. Um, and so you can see kind of planning for this, to just go back in time. Um, we've got going back, like this is already 5 weeks ago, looking into the stars, NFT gaming, NFT art with Stargaze. We've got going back from July, the end of July, the Wreck Dragons for Stargaze, and the Winter Pals for Stargaze. We've got going back, like, when was this? This, we don't have the time stamp on it, but I can look that up. Um, this, I think this is even farther back. Is This was July 11th.
Hmm.
So July 11th is where we announced our commitment to work with the Stargaze team. And then, here it's like, this is July 5th, Levana's Direct Dragons on Stargaze. So the idea here was, how can we, instead of just minting something directly on Stargaze, how can we work with this team to create a bridging experience, which then can be expanded
So
onto other projects?
so what was the plan? Let's mint it on Ethereum and see how we can move them to Stargaze, right? Am
Exactly.
I understanding this right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was almost 4 months ago, is when we
Hmm.
approached the Stargaze team,
Hmm.
for that plan. It was in Austin, Texas, and we've been through on that.
Hmm.
And we've been, and the one of the biggest challenges was also just teaching our community about Stargaze,
Hmm.
because we used Stargaze before. We had,
Hmm.
access to tens of thousands of people that had never used the platform. So it's
Let's
yep.
yeah. Let's chat on, like, because I do like Stargaze, and I think you spoke to
I like
Stargaze.
Stargaze too.
I'm fan of Shane, because if you met Shane, this is the serious guy in it for the right reasons, with huge experience, someone who tried to build really network. So how what you do right now, um can benefit Stargaze, and how we can grow the platform to make it with like better user experience, and drive new users going into the future, right? So
That's a great question. So I think that that
mhm,
comes from two different focuses. One is that we've got to attract teams from from competing communities. So whether that's Ethereum or Polygon or Solana, and so part of that is going to be refining the team onboarding. So understanding Cosmos and Kepler, understanding osmosis, understanding how IBC interacts or will interact with NFTs, understanding the process of actually technically minting assets on Stargaze,
mhm,
and then setting the metadata on Stargaze. And then if they want to add or expand utility to the NFTs on Stargaze, what does that process look like? Now, the us going through this process has been a huge eye opener as to where the friction points are. And even just like I said before, technical things, would you believe that it took like 4 people and like 2 days of work to get the multi-sig set up correctly for Stargaze, and even just to run a Stargaze node, like that amount
mhm,
of work. It's like this is a considerable, like we went through the process of, okay, we're working with the Polygon BD team. Here's what the things that they provide us if we want to mint there. Here are the store opportunities. Here's the feature and functionality. Here's the business development and promotional firepower they can provide for us. We went there, we learned that. Then we did the same thing,
mhm,
very similar thing with Solana and with Near and with Ethereum itself. And then looking at Stargaze, kind of seeing how that compares and what content needs to be created just to onboard the team. So
mhm,
this has been a continued learning experience, on an ongoing experience. The next is
mhm,
about how, once you've convinced the team, now how do you get the community onboarded? So they also need to understand Cosmos and Kepler. They need to understand how to fund these wallets so that they can actually
mhm.
pay for things. Sorry, my son is playing with his
All
friend
right.
over to us.
So
They
let
need
them
to
play.
understand how bridges work, how to connect wallets, how to redeem airdrops, how to participate in whitelist or allow lists. They need to understand how to mint their first NFTs and how to use the store, like
Mhm.
sell items, search, um, rarity
Can I ask you
calculation.
the question? Because, like, I want you to tell me what Stargaze is missing right now. Like, just honestly, if you go to Stargaze, what you feel, hey, it needs something.
Um, so let's just play here.
Because
You know,
I love Stargaze, but when I go to OpenSea, obviously it's different user experience. I can see the choose and filtrate through the rarity, the buying is easier, the
let's,
filtrating of the
let's go to the
price. You know what
homepage.
I'm saying?
Yeah, let's look at the homepage for each of these. So I think number one is there's a lot more emphasis of showcasing, meaning
I don't, if you
using the
change, I
whole.
don't see it. I still see the
Ah,
presentation.
sorry,
Is correct?
sorry. Yeah. Let
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna have to. Maybe I can just share the window instead.
Yeah, anything
Yeah,
that will
I
work.
can
It
share.
should be. Hmm.
Um, so even stuff like this, like, okay, this the entire UI above the folds is focused on the showcase product. So
Hmm.
so it's not just demoing the NFTs or a scroll of the NFTs, but they've actually created a they've created a cinematic uh onboarding that captures the eye, pulls you in, and then puts all of your focus on really two things. One is the fear of missing out of when this is going
Hmm.
live, and then the call to action of viewing the drop. I think that if we
Hmm.
kind of look at um, what we have here with Stargaze is we've kind of lost a lot of that magic.
Hmm.
What I see here, I don't really see much of a narrative or a story. I see that that this is ended. That there's a lot. I don't know anything about this project. They didn't really give me any
Hmm.
opportunity to advertise here. And then I kind of go and I look underneath the collections. There's no, I'd like to see like trading volume on a daily base, or like maybe even 7-day trading volume. I mean, I think that there's a lot of UX improvements that naturally are going to come through through uh, refinement and bringing fresh eyes to this ecosystem. And I think that that's part of the conversation and part of what kind of attracts the two teams together. That it's hard to have that when you've been kind of looking at this for months now. It's kind of hard to imagine what if.
So
And
so so
we're
to tell
excited.
that, because it wasn't told straight, like we need to say, so Is Levana team is going to work on the UX of Stargaze, trying to make this better.
I think that is right now, in definitely from an informal perspective, those are the
Mm-hmm.
conversations that we've been having.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're looking is to have an iterative process of kind of an entrance into the community,
Mm-hmm.
which will allow us to naturally develop a voice as
Mm-hmm.
to where we'd like to see interests aligned, and Stargaze as an application and marketplace grow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's good to come in heavy-handed. One of the things that you always see when somebody comes in, like to like let's say the Bitcoin community, what is the meme? Is like, "Hi, I just found out about Bitcoin last weekend, and I'm here to fix everything." And
Yeah.
and that's not the approach that we want to take. We want something that's
Mm-hmm.
much more iterative. So I don't want to come in here like dunking on anybody else's work. That's not the goal here.
Mm-hmm.
It just the goal is to say, like, we've got to bring, and who cares what my view is. I'd rather bring on hundreds of new people and then get them
Mm-hmm.
um to give feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and to take the time to understand it. And that's, I think, where the work, the product work, really is important, of not just onboarding the teams, but onboarding the community.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we finish this beta, I think the post mortem is going to be incredibly important. So, how many Rec Dragon holders redeemed stars? How many whitelisted for Winter Pals? How many actually minted the Winter Pals? How many even browsed the store? What was the feedback on the store? How many of them bought NFTs from the store? How many of them just dumped all of their stars tokens? What were some exit interviews with beta testers that we can share with? We can
Mm-hmm.
participate with the core Stargaze team, and like, what's the call? What's the and then ultimately, what's the call to action for the highest ROI for updates and changes to Stargaze, which is what we kind of
Mm-hmm.
just went through in a nutshell. Um, and then, so this was the vision for this beta test, and we
Mm-hmm.
specifically went after a little bit of tech savvy users, but we also wanted to make sure that there was a check and balance. Like, we want it to be a claim, not drop. We don't want to just throw
Mm-hmm.
out tokens to ghost accounts. We want to make sure it's the right beta testers, that they're a little bit tech savvy, that they have experience on Ethereum and off of Ethereum. So we don't spend 90% of the friction just explaining to people, like, no, there are blockchains other than Ethereum. We want to make sure it's people that are willing to give feedback, and we want to make sure it's people that have little to no prior knowledge of Cosmos or Stargaze.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to make sure that it wasn't gameable, so we did a surprise snapshot 5 weeks ago, and that there would be no ability to just sweep the floor for arbitrage. Now, again, there's almost no trading volume of the Rec Dragons. The Rec Dragons was
Mm-hmm.
specifically created with one purpose, and that was to get to make something that could be taken from Ethereum and then migrated over
Yeah.
um, to
I
Stargaze.
I
So
I
I don't
think
know
this
why.
is very important point. I
Yeah,
need to, because many people think it was like main collection, and I was looking, hey, like no one trading that, but like it seems
I don't know
like
why
this is the,
anybody would trade these. These are all the beta testers that were
yeah.
that
So
basically onboarded to participate in this.
this is the experiment collection that meant to be brought to Stargaze, and we are working on something, on making this actual bridge. This collection is not dropped to pump the floor and create massive volume. These are the users that come from Levana community, that were there, that are testers. right?
Exactly. So there
Hmm.
is no ability to sweep the floor or arbitrage. I saw a lot of people that were like, well, if this thing passes, I'm going to go out and buy a wrecked dragon and I'll buy it for $30 and then I'll get my,
Hmm.
$100 worth of stars and then I'll make, $70 of profit. But like, that's
Hmm.
like, I mean, come on, guys. We thought of that. Like, that's not the point here. That's not the point here at all. So we also made sure that Stargaze OGs control the multi-sig. So there's no way for anybody to run off with funding.
Hmm.
It's a 3 out of 4 multi-sig with two signers from the Stargaze team/community. Little or no upside. We limited the amount of eligible rec dragons to roughly 30. I think it's even less. It might be like 27. I have to double check. And all of these, to be fair, were purchased off of the open market
Hmm.
from beta test, from people that decided they didn't want to be part of the beta test anymore. And then, and these 30 that we own are just designed to get fresh blood so that we can get certain VIPs in on it to be able to give feedback.
Hmm.
And then the roughly 500 Rec Dragons from the Levana Treasury was excluded from eligibility because again, we're like, this isn't a cash grab. And we put on an aggressive clawback, a 50-day automatic clawback with the ability from the Stargaze team, because they control the multi-sig, to be able to cancel it at any time. So
Hmm.
if there is some type of a blow up, without the core team of Stargaze like signing on every transaction, there's literally no way to do this.
Hmm.
And then we fixed it to be a one size fixed airdrop per person to prevent double dipping. So like even if you went out and you bought 50 Rec Dragons, you're still only getting that one airdrop. Um,
Hmm.
and now the goal here is and I think it's a very lawfully and challenging goal, is to get 1,000 beta testers to perform the Ethereum connection and to spend the airdrop on NFTs in the marketplace. And I think like, what's the bearish funnel analysis here? So we've got 1,200 people roughly that are eligible to participate in the beta. Let's say we get a 60% conversion.
Hmm.
So that's about 720 that redeem it. Let's say that half of them dump, so that's like about 30,000, let's say, 30,000 USD dumped on the market.
Hmm.
Um, this is the more realistic risk, and then the other 700 and so people, they go out and they buy NFTs, they participate in the beta. Let's say 1 out of 5 of them becomes part of the Stargaze community. So the Stargaze community would end up getting about 144 hardcore new users. But what's more, which I think is not really the main point here, this is the precursor to growth. What we would have hundreds of people's feedback on what it was like to go through the experience and to make their first purchase on Stargaze. And that's really, I think, the major upside to this
Hmm.
project. And I think when we went through, the total worst case downside is roughly 20 hours equivalent worth of dumping, given the current volume on osmosis. So that's the total risk, which is, less than half of 1% of the budget that Stargaze has put to earmark for growth strategy. Downside is very well thought out, with the upside and the amount of work that the Levana is willing to put into this, really to ask nothing in return. I
Hmm.
think makes this like a no brainer, as for a vote. And people, I mean, I'll pause right there if you have any thoughts on like the bearish funnel analysis or any of the checks and balances.
I'm no, like you know what, I'm most bullish, and I want to ask you, because Stargaze thought before they will use maybe gravity bridge, right? Like, you don't think it's a good
Yes.
way of bridging, or
No,
it's
no, I think
still,
gravity is amazing. I think
yeah?
we don't, we're not even up to the part of the bridging here. We're really just a part
Yeah. So just
we're hand
creating the
waving the
contract
bridging.
that will allow easily to connect two users first before the bridge. Let's make them already. Let's start it moving. So I want to ask you: is this this contract that you are building that will allow you to connect the MetaMask and Kepler together? Right? If stop me if I'm saying something wrong. Will
Yes.
it
So
be? Will
Mike,
it be
so yeah,
a? Mhm.
Michael from Stargaze is the lead engineer on this, and we've been So the Levana team has been primarily focusing on the idea on the user experience and on effectively performing the beta test. So we're working with the ultimately the gravity bridge will be used to move NFTs between Cosmos and other
Hmm.
chains, and there's no that's part of what we're doing here.
Hmm.
But really the whole point of this is, okay, let's just hand wave the bridge itself, because there's a lot of other work that needs to be done besides just the bridge. Um, we'll skip the bridge by just launching a new collection. So they'll just get a new collection on the completely different collection, which is these winter pals,
Hmm.
which are 3,000 or so. Sorry, it got really loud here. More little boys have come
Okay.
over. So I'm gonna go back into the house. Sorry for the
It's all
change
right.
of location. You know, um, and uh, and what I want to see accomplished is that by the time that the gravity bridge is ready, that the core UI and UX elements that your average user are going to be interacting with, that's been well thought of, tested, and
Hmm.
polished. So we're not trying to do redundant work. We're trying to focus on the areas that have kind of fallen through the cracks
Hmm.
from our perspective as product designers.
Can I ask you, will other projects from Ethereum will be able to use your contract to bridge the
Well, it's not
users
our
to?
contract; it's the community's contract. It's
Okay,
well,
so
we have
it will be like not, it
no
will not be
ownership
on,
over them.
it will not be branded as Levana, but this is separate product, and everyone, any other community that will want to come, they will be able to use it and do this bridge to do the. So Stargaze will have possibility of doing maybe future airdrop to other communities. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's kind of what we're thinking about, is that the design needs to be modular. There needs to be custom integration points for future projects. What are the things that need to be edited? Does it need to be a WYSIWYG? How are images going to be uploaded? Where are they going to be held? What's the whole process for a team to understand, the onboarding process for the minting? And so it's not about any particular one project, but rather about defining the process, refining the process, and getting data on
Hmm.
from bespoke beta testers on the process.
Yeah. So like actually still people are confused. So they are thinking, oh, so it's not just for Levana. No, it will be for like everyone who will want to airdrop. And I think this
And
would be
it's not
great.
even Yeah, it's not
Mhm.
even about a user grab. Like think about it. Like we're talking about 1,000 people here, like 1,200 people. When you actually do an analysis, like that's well, like we could end up with like, I'd say the bearish funnel analysis is there's 144 people that are interacting with this,
I
and
mean, that's still
and
all
what
right,
we're
right?
yeah, and what we're hopeful, like, look, I want to show you like the real Levana artwork. This is one of my, this is one of my babies. So this is the story of Levana. And
Well,
now
this
this
is really
needs a
nice
home.
comic. Are you
Yeah,
gonna
thank you.
drop something like this?
Well, so this needs a home, and I want this home to be Cosmos. And there's a right now we've got about 70, 80 pages of this already fully produced, and the goal here is to have this be a series that'll be 700 pages of telling the
Hmm.
story of Levana. And this needs a place, but in order for this to need a place, it's got to be a place that can actually land and can actually grow. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, because there
Hmm.
there is a lot of, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to
Hmm.
create that onboarding experience.
Hmm.
And I think that Stargaze should be the place for the future art assets for
Hmm.
Levana. And I think that the
Yeah.
Stargaze team is exactly the right DNA. Like we just, it's hard to find you know, good people that like have a similar long-term vision as you. But I
Hmm.
digress. Um, so like looking at this, like why an airdrop? So like the previous airdrop, hold on, Alexa, stop. The previous airdrop of $2,000 was not a good benchmark. So like there needs to be a much smaller airdrop. So I think the
Hmm.
$100 mark allows us to get a great amount of information. There is this budget of 200 million stars that are earmarked for growth strategy. So we're requesting 0.4% of that budget to perform this initial test. And then the incentives, and this incentivizes the beta testers to actually use the platform and give feedback. And it justifies even to our own community. There was a lot of effort. There was a lot of like voices within our own community, like we should mint our next set on Polygon, which is where there's like, or multiple orders of magnitude more trading volume. But I believe ultimately that that's not the future of NFTs. And so aligning ourselves with Stargaze, I think is a great long-term vision and a great partnership. So yep.
How we can increase, because the problem with Stargaze, we can only onboard with Osmosis and JunoSwap, and I'm thinking like we need some like direct fiat on ramp, right? Like we need more of this.
So we've been reaching out on behalf of Stargaze to a number of different onboarding fiat onboarding partners. Some of the partners that we worked with from the Terra ecosystem, and some of them that are new and like, let's call it crypto curious to the Cosmos ecosystem. So we even like from our previous relationships, we've got we have like 3 different fiat on ramps that like are watching what's happening here to kind of see what direction the community wants to go in, and to see how Levana will be a part of that. So just excited to like, again, this is like, there's a lot of business development effort that needs to happen, and we're excited to be a part of that and to be helpful in whatever way that we can.
I know there is Kado. I hope Kado will bring this. I would actually like some centralized exchanges.
And we know Kado, for a while from the days of Terra.
I will actually make the video. Let's go through some people's voices. So let's start with the latest comment. Stargaze decentralization failed because it's team choice to choose Levana and not the community choice. Any comment about that?
Absolutely. Look, it's very hard. First of all, the community can reject the proposal. If they're not interested, they can definitely reject the proposal. And that's their right. But a lot of times it's when you have the actual human beings that it's like in a marriage, if there were, could you imagine the practical challenges around like a TV audience voting on, who should marry to who? Especially with like something as small as this. Like, let's put this in perspective. We're not talking about having Levana control the growth. We're talking about doing an initial experiment with 0.4% of the budget to spearhead a couple month-long project. And it was a project that nobody from the community like spearheaded. So like, we are part of the Stargaze community, coming as community members, saying, hey, here's a skill set that we can donate to Stargaze. What do you guys think about it? So I would actually completely reject that sentiment that this is the team-led initiative and that this is a failure of the democracy or decentralized nature of Stargaze. And I would say that this specifically showcases how community-driven Stargaze is, where a member of the community and a new entrance into that community can say, hey, we want to help. Here's how we think is a great cost benefit, risk reward way to help. We want to use a very tiny amount of the budget. Let's, and we talked to the core team. They said, that's great. Makes sense to us. We'd love to work with you, but ultimately it's up to the community to decide if they want to do it. So I don't know. That assessment that this is a failure of governance just doesn't sit well with me.
I just want to say, like that maybe we are a little bit too naive about the word community. What I want to say, if you leave the chain and drop it to community and the team does not push, the team doesn't seek for the people, your chain is going to die. That's just the fact, because community is often just incentivized with the fact that, hey, the price go up, I want to buy this coin. And you actually want the team to go out there, seek for the people, and hey, come build with us, right? Because you've seen with some chains that were announcing we are community chain, and then they're like, hey, you community do something, and then community doesn't do anything, and they have to come back and do something. So I want to say, just make sure you need the team, and you need sort of influence. Like it's probably for the best for your own backs, right? That
Or
would
we
be
just
my
want
take.
to, I mean, look, it's a, unfortunately, time preference is always an issue. Is that
Hmm.
if you're looking for, if you're just looking for exit liquidity, then these types of iterative approaches, and long-term vision is probably not
Hmm.
not right for you. But if you have a vision that in the next 5 years Stargaze is going to be the most successful NFT marketplace, not just within Cosmos, but within the entire ecosystem, you have to start looking at, okay, what are the actions that we can do today with alacrity to make
Hmm.
meaningful change and get meaningful data? And how can we look at the total budget that we have and start talking about fractions of a percentage, how those little chips can be chipped off to do things that are going to help progress forward.
Hmm. Yeah, like I must say I agree, and I like this move. Some other question was, but it's outside of the Stargaze IBC gang. I think he changed the approach now. With all respect, I'm confused. Levana has many projects that you want to work on but none delivered yet. I'm super excited to see options and perpetuals. When is that going to happen?
Well, actually, you can play today with both options and perps.
Mm-hmm.
They are on testnet. The
Mm-hmm.
code has not been audited. We are not willing to push the button to bring it to mainnet until audits, penetration tests, and many other things that demonstrate maturity and respect for the user base. So I would say that we were probably the project that delivered more than anything else on Terra. We
Mm-hmm.
built, look at like what we deployed. We deployed multiple blockchain games, the most successful blockchain games, not just one, not just two, but 8 of them. We deployed our own minter for NFTs, which was on mainnet. We deployed our own auction platform for NFTs. We launched a testnet explorer tool. We built our own migration wallet system to migrate from Terra to the general Cosmos. We've launched our own DeFi focused testnet with a simplified faucet for Juno.
Mm-hmm.
And we launched a virtual AMM, constant product perpetual swap on testnet on Terra, which had tens of thousands of users and hundreds of millions of dollars of testnet UST trading volume. It is I again, I think, and we also delivered more NFTs and a larger variety of NFTs than any other platform. So it is, I think maybe one of our challenges is that we've delivered so much that it's hard to keep track, and we probably do a
Mm-hmm.
poor communication
Mm-hmm.
of explaining that. But then also, we're probably more conservative. um, we're probably more conservative than most other teams, that we just don't want to drop other people's, we don't want people to lose money. Anything that we can do to prevent people from getting
Yeah.
hurt, like that, becomes a high priority.
Mhm. Is your how many people work for Levana?
So the team is much smaller. We were at the largest point about 50 people, and we have shrunk down to around 13 people today.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had to go through many layoffs, and a lot of pain due to the the challenge, both the crash in Terra and then the crash with
Mm-hmm.
Celsius and Three Arrows and some of the other platforms, and then just the dumping of Bitcoin down to under 20K. So it's been we've had to be very conservative with our spending, and we're right now about a dozen full-time people
Mm-hmm.
participating
Mm-hmm.
in building.
Do you have the cash runways to survive for a year, two,
We
three?
have we right now, cash in hand, we have about 18 months of runway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, hopefully it will improve. You release the project, so hopefully there is new funding as well, and hopefully the times will be that you can grow back again. Um,
Amen. Amen. That's our goal. And
with
we're
the
all
with
here for the long run.
Yeah.
It is it's and many of us took a massive pay cut to come and work on Levana
Mm-hmm.
because we were ideologically motivated. So it's being able to create something that is going to help bridge the gap between uh, the massive audience
Mm-hmm.
and crypto, and then helping to onboard those users and participate you know is it's a long-term vision, but you can only succeed if you have a long-term vision. And I'm on low battery, so I'm just looking for my charging
Yeah, that's
cable.
okay. Like I'm reading what is the future of NFTs? Is it just
No.
PFP images? Are we going to build social networks with the NFTs? Are the NFT collection its own DAOs that can have self-funding and meant to serve communities? What's your thoughts on NFTs?
I think that there's always an opportunity for collecting art, that people like art, but I think that is going to be more niche. I think that owning gaming assets is a
Mm-hmm.
huge uh, like a emerging marketplace. Ta-da! Sound
So
sound
you
wonderful.
think
Uh,
the main bullish case for NFTs is the gaming, but less of the
I think
maybe them
I
being
think
social?
it's a. I think ultimately it will be utility that
Mm-hmm.
makes them valuable and interesting in the long run. But I think that we've got a lot of experimentation that we have to do to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
It is like, I remember I'm 39 years old, which is like a dinosaur in this industry, and I remember connecting to the internet for the first time when I was like, I guess it must have been no, it must have been 1991 or 1992, and connecting to
Wow.
bulletin boards and chatting with people online and wondering why everyone on the internet was from California, and um, and then I remember when we got CompuServe, which was like the precursor to AOL, and then whatever and then like and then playing Doom over like a 96 not like 9600 baud modem with friends, and then like the internet was such a different thing between the early 90s and the early 2000s, and then such a different thing between the early 2000s and where we are today. So I've constantly been blown away by innovation. Like, I never thought that I would be ordering an Uber, or
Mm-hmm.
a same day delivery of like mangoes and like pineapples, like literally
Mm-hmm.
coming to my house. And there's just so much other stuff that I just never thought of. Looking back on those days when I was like writing custom wads, or like up to no good on AOL, and like age, sex, location conversations, and like it's so I think we just need to constantly keep innovating and trying new things. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
love about the Stargaze team, is that they're also, I view myself as a toy maker as my primary profession. Like, I am a toy maker, and DeFi is ultimately a type of a toy. It's a financial toy. NFTs are a toy. Crypto in general is a toy, and we just have to kind of keep in, inventing new toys. Some of them are going to break, some of them are not going to work, but that's how we're going to create value.
Hmm. Well, I like how you said it, because it essentially goes down to just keep trying, and you will find out. I want to know, like, is there at the end, is there anything that you wish you would be asked during the conversations, but you are never being asked?
Um, I guess, how can I help? You
Hmm.
know, it's like I'd love to hear how other projects, I've seen a lot of projects that are like that. First of all, they like I feel like they totally take the ask um out of context, and they're like 3,000 stars. Why would you ever need anybody to get 3,000 stars? And just there's so many, I think, wrong takes. So many people that have never done the work of product design, usability analysis, or whatever. Um, and so I'd just love to hear how other NFTs projects would like to help.
Hmm.
I saw that there was another NFT project that basically just took our proposal, copy and pasted it, did a find and replace of like our name for their name, lowered the price by like 30%, kicked themselves back like 40% of the money. And I just felt like that was very just not collaborative, or not very classy, I guess I would call it.
Hmm.
So I'm looking for classy people that want to help make Stargaze the best place in all of crypto for NFTs. To just get involved and and do the work. And even if this proposal fails, there's still a lot of work for us to do. So let's just do it.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel after chatting to you now, it's not going to fail. You know, I think it will succeed, and I hope it will be having the best results. You know, because I think we're here together, and instead of maybe like fighting sometimes, just let's get things moving. Let's push it faster, experiment, and try to make the best possible product ever, because that's about, I know that people sometimes feel that there is unfairness, but all of that comes down to trying to make the best possible product, and that's what I want to see in Stargaze, because I really like Stargaze, and that's
Me
why I
too.
wanted to chat to you. I was in contact with your colleague for a while, and this proposal happened, so it's the best. It's the best it's happening now. So I will let you go now to spend the time with your family. Thank you for this great conversation. Thank you for like making it clear for the people. I also think it's great that people can see you, because we always undervalue the personal interaction. It's still the video, but people see you, they see your presentation, they see your emotions when you talk about what you are building, right? And I think this is really important. So yeah, thank you, and I hope to have you again, because I want to chat about the money, Bitcoin, and the design of
Sure.
tokenomics with you in the future.
Sure.
um how many children
Very
you
well.
have?
I have 3 kids.
Wow,
And
nice.
yep.
I saw big family, big family. Someone was asking, are you Hasidic?
I
This is
am
the
Hasidic.
been
Yep. So
yeah.
my ancestry, it's for the past, since the I guess since around what would that be, about 80, 90 years we were in America. Before that we were in Ukraine for about 500 years. Before
Hmm.
that we were in Turkey, and before that we were in Israel. And so
Hmm.
I've moved back to Israel. So I'm the first of my lineage in almost 1,000 years to return to Jerusalem. So that was exciting. And it's then the Hasidic philosophy, which is a style of thinking, is and kind of like also I think meshes really well with crypto, and with the philosophies around
Hmm.
Bitcoin, and the philosophies around community, and around governance. And so I get to pull a lot from my theological studies, in terms of and applying that to crypto economics.
Mhm. Yeah, like I originally come from Poland. So, like Poland in the history had a lot of Jews. I think at the certain point of history, it was probably over 20%. So
Yep.
that was the
Yep.
region. Also, Ukraine of today, that was the around Krakow. They had big communities. So do you speak, what's the language?
I speak
Uh,
I speak English and Hebrew, and my French is pretty good, not
mhm.
terrible. And I learned Spanish for many years in school, but I haven't practiced it in forever. I probably know about a couple hundred words in between Arabic and
Yeah.
Russian and stuff. There's a lot of you know there's like there's a lot more. One of the misunderstandings about just Israel in general is there's a lot of peaceful coexistence, like
Mhm.
98% peaceful coexistence. So
Mhm.
we interact with a lot of Arabs and other
Mhm.
other nationals besides Jews.
Yeah, I wanted to say the language is in the region was also language known as Yiddish. Not sure, so like that
So
the
yes,
flavor.
so my Yiddish is terrible. I know a bunch of words in Yiddish, but those were Yiddish was what my grandparents spoke to each other
Hmm.
so that my father couldn't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, that's well, that's the grandparents, right? Okay. Um, thank you for your time,
And
Jonathan.
Zahava wants to say hi. Now, come, you can
Oh,
say hi. So Zahava is our resident NFT expert. She's
hello.
and just she's one of our community leaders as well. She's my daughter.
Oh, and she's at your home.
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
like one big family. It's
it, what- yeah, yeah. It's summer. It's a holiday now, so we're between the holidays. This is the harvest
Mhm.
festival, and so the kids have off school for the harvest festival.
All right. Yeah, next time I'm in Jerusalem, I hope to pop you. Maybe we can
Awesome.
get a coffee,
Please
you
do.
know.
We'll
Okay,
we'll go
thank
up for
thank you
some.
again.
All
Hmm.
right. Take care.
Thank you. Enjoy your day. Spend a good time with your family and your friends. Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.